I don't cry when it rains no more, or I get dirt on my shoes. I don't mind climbing 8 more floors, 'cause these stairs are all heading to you. I don't wait for tomorrow's sunshine when I feel it today. But when it's cold in the dead of winter, remember that snow melts away. One more cold drink, one more roll, one more dance before the doors get closed. Please remember, enjoy the show. Let's get happy before we get old. We don't need plans or a fancy agenda. Let's just see where it goes. We got no care for the way people stare at the dust and the dirt on our clothes. Hey, my friend, we'll never say
All right, everybody, come on into the Cajun cooking experience. I'm going to leave that little banner going across for a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and then kick it off in a second. Because it gives everybody a chance to find out what's on the show. So tonight we're doing a little crawfish etouffee. One of my favorite dishes. Man, I love this dish. It's just awesome. Well, yeah, Randy, time to rock and roll. Hey, brother, you know it's time for the French bread shuffle. Shit, you know that. Crawfish etouffee is one of our favorite dishes out here, but it's not something that we had around since beginning of time, but we did. Called actually crawfish etouffee. Probably started in the 20s, got popular in the 40s, and then later on just caught on real hot. And we'll talk more about that. But it's an easy dish. What'd you say, Jeremy? It's really an easy dish and an awesome dish to cook with crawfish. Louisiana crawfish tails, that's the ones you want to use. And you know, to make this, whatever you do, don't rinse these tails, use this fat. I'm going to show you there's some recipes out there from old times that tell you to rinse the tails. It's like, no, don't do that. But this is really a good dish. What it is, it's an easy dish to fix because etouffee, big fancy word, French. All it means is smother. So we do a lot of etouffee. We etouffee a lot of stuff in Cajun world. You know, and another thing that they call would be etouffeeing, would be stewing something. It's kind of like the same process. This is what people did when they were making stews back in the old days, not in South Louisiana. They were stewing instead of making a roux and making a stew. So we're going to get started right here. And I got my little small baby pot. Yesterday, we actually had amazing time. We had 13 people in my kitchen cooking hands-on, doing a Cajun cooking experience. I had to go buy some more pots. I didn't have enough pots. And we actually set up cooking stations where we had 2 people to a station where they were actually cutting everything. One person cutting, one person cooking, and they would swap out. It was a corporate event. It was awesome. And I hope to get more of those. It was the first big one like that I had that we would set up like this. And it was just an amazing event. So first thing we're going to do is check and see if this butter's ready. Now, why am I using butter? It's just a personal preference. I like using butter. It's going to, with an etouffee, anything like this, or if you're cooking like a etouffee or like a shrimp creole, something like that, and butter gives it that little sweet taste. It gives it something a little bit different. Now, if you want to use lard, you want to use avocado oil, definitely go ahead. Got to be careful with butter because if you put too much heat on it, it's going to separate and it's going to do it's going to do a bum job for you. Okay. Now, we're going to start cooking this down. And what we want to do is, yesterday, the group that actually came in, one of the dishes they cooked was crawfish etouffee. They did a fantastic job. And what we learn is just take your time. It's about layering the flavors. This is what we're going to do tonight. What you say, Lucy? And you know something, this is something that crawfish etouffee, where does it come from? let's go back to the 20s. This is what they believe. There was a lady, and people would pass by her place, had maybe a little restaurant, maybe a hotel. And of course, everybody was talking French. And they would ask for a little etouffee crawfish. And she'd cook it for them. This is where they believe it started. But in the 40s, in Bro Bridge, this is where it really got documented where they were doing this. And this was starting to become a popular dish. So in the Bro Bridge area, it was very popular. You didn't see it in many places, other places, not in newspapers, but they wrote about it a lot in newspapers in the Bro Bridge area. And it was one of their really popular dishes. What you say, Bobby? And the thing is, with that etouffee, it was an easy dish to cook. And all they would have used was onions, shallots. That would have been it. You have to go back and look at old recipes. People didn't use a lot of ingredients. Maybe a little bell peppers that are put in, but basically that's about it. They wouldn't have made a big deal out of this. So and I like a lot of bell peppers. We have celery. Remember one thing: celery. Celery didn't come into play until the 1900s. By the 19 and the teens or the 20s. Before that, it was bell peppers, onions, and carrots. So something totally different. Maybe some shallots. What you say, Miss A? Man, you ready for our cruise? So we're gonna just work on these onions. See if I can kick this fire up a little bit. Get this pot going. We're just gonna keep on rolling this. And one thing I like about, you can do this, I'm doing it in a black iron pot, a cast iron pot. And one of the things people, when they come here from other places, not many people have cast iron pots once you get away from this area. So we have a very unique culture in the pots we cook in, the way we prepare our foods, and the things that we put in our foods. And one thing I tell everybody, especially when they come here, we talk about the Cajun foods. You know what I tell them? People were scared to eat our cooking. Before Cajun was cool, and everybody's going to remember this, if you live in South Louisiana, what would they say? Don't eat anything them Cajuns are cooking because you don't know what they put in the pot. That was a fact, Jack. Hey, Dorothy, we're doing a little crawfish etouffee. What'd you say, Harvey? Oh, man. So we want to get these onions nice and brown before we actually bring our crawfish in. And what we're going to do is, after I smother this down a little bit, throw a little flour in there, give it a little thickness in our etouffee. Sometimes if you see me do my shows in the past, what I've done is I've made a roux to make a crawfish etouffee. I'm going to tell you what that does. Smothering your crawfish, but it stretches it out, and you would make your roux with butter. Instead of making a stew like with a heavier oil, but you'd make it with butter, it gives it a really rich taste. But that's the etouffee I want to stretch out. I'm doing a catering job. I'm going to make a roux. This is cooking for me. I'm going to cook it healthier. And I'm going to cook it where it's going to actually not have so much of a roux taste. I'm going to taste more of the crawfish. Let's see, Bobby, if there is not a circle around the roadkill, it's free to put in the pot. So that's another thing, Bobby, I told him. I said, we're coming home and we've done it. Anybody lives in this area, I know you've done it. You ride home, rabbits on the road, you hit it. Hell, you're not leaving that rabbit there, especially if you just hit a little headshot. You're going to get out, pick it up, put it in the trunk, go home, clean that rabbit, put it in the fridge. Mama's cooking that next day for supper. We've done that many times. There's nothing wrong with that. And they kind of like laugh and, yeah, I don't know about y'all people, but it's true. And it was called survival. Oh, thank you, Mike. Always good hearing from you, brother. So that crawfish etouffee, and what happened was it was popular in the Bro Bridge area, but then you start seeing it around the 80s, it spikes. What happened? Paul Prudhomme, New Orleans. He brings the Cajun culture to New Orleans. Before that, it was all French culture. Everybody cooked the same old French dishes. Fancy. Put your bow tie on, your tuxedo, whatever, and you ate your fancy little French dishes. Nothing wrong with them except that everybody had the same thing. Paul Prudhomme said, hey, boss man, I want to bring some culture here. I want to bring some flavor. And it took off. And when he called it crawfish etouffee, instead of smothered crawfish in New Orleans, instead of getting $5 a plate, he could get 10. And it was considered a high-end meal. And one of the things that people will want when they come to New Orleans is to get a crawfish etouffee. And when we do a lot of bus tours, everybody's heard of crawfish etouffee. All right, you see we're starting to get a little brown on these onions? And I'm gonna switch down and the eye in the sky. There we go. There we go. And after a while, we're gonna start throwing more color in this pot. Okay, little camera, bring me back. Bring me back live. Uh-oh. I'm going on a blank screen. Wait a minute, we coming back. Hang tight. All right. Some reason my little switcher decided to take a nap. Okay, and I got my chicken stock over here. And one of the things I do, if y'all remember in the past, is that when I make my stock, I'll put my bay leaves in my stock. Instead of having it in the stew and you have to pick it out, I'll make my stock and I'll throw a little bay leaf in it so that I can get it out the way. Can you make seafood jambalaya someday? What all would you put in it? Bobby, I absolutely will make that. So the seafood jambalaya, man, anything that's seafood you could put in it. We'll probably use shrimp and crawfish, and I'll take some fish and let it break up in there. It could be a catfish. It could be. This is with some really big fish, like a redfish or something that's kind of a big fish that would fit well in there. But a good catfish or like a sockeye or perch, and let it break up in there. It'll give it a little crab meat flavor. Unless you want to go make a loan and get you some crab meat, unless you have somebody you know that can help you out, help a brother out and get you some crab meat. Okay. Like to try that here in Nova Scotia. Okay, Bobby, we definitely will do it. And you know, I'm glad Bobby said something about Nova Scotia. We're gonna throw a little andouille in. And look, we just doing this here, throw a little andouille, something I like. You don't have to put it. I like a little smoke flavor in mine. I use the andouille, cuts back on the fat, makes it a little healthier. You know, if you want to throw sausage in there, you don't want to put any smoke, that's fine. So Bobby, you know, all us Cajuns started off in Nova Scotia. And, you know, back then we were eating lobster. Oh, it sounds real fancy. It sounds like we had a big fancy dish. And I'm going to go ahead and kick this banner off. And it sounded like we had a big fancy dish. Oh, we eating them lobsters. Them lobsters were this long. But that was also considered trash at the time the Cajuns were there. But when the Cajuns came, they really liked their lobsters. So as they came down, the lobsters were following them, swimming behind them. Well, lobsters started this big by the time the Cajuns got here. Not only were they smaller, lobsters were only this big. Called them a crawfish. Now that's true, because I researched that. What's up, Bones? Oh, thank you, brother. Bones said I'm looking good. Like that. Okay, now we got our onions in here. I'm gonna throw my celery. And if you can see, we're starting to get a little brown color in here. Let's put the eye in the sky down here. Okay, you see these onions are starting to get a little brown? This is what I want. Remember when you're cooking, some people, you don't have to. You can sweat these onions and just cook them a little while, get the sugars out, and then go ahead and just get started. I like the brown because think about these dark brown onions and you put them on a sandwich. How sweet that is, how good that tastes. It's adding flavor, not only flavor to whatever you're cooking, your dish, but it's also building some color so that I don't have to use that bouquet stuff. All right, we're just gonna keep on cooking this. And then what I tell people is when you do this, you give your dish a little loving. Always give it a little loving. Okay, we're just gonna keep on working this. All right. Bobby got me fired up about that seafood jambalaya because I'm looking forward to doing that. Now, in Louisiana, probably about 85% of the crawfish are caught in ponds, man-made ponds, or in the rice field. So there's only the rest of them, another 15%, maybe a little less, are caught in the wild. If anybody remembers growing up in the river parishes, you had your crawfish nets, and you would just need to go out there, get you some crawfish net, get you some melt, which is anybody didn't know what melt is. It's just the spleen of a cow. Get that real bloody and go catch your own crawfish. This is what we did. We couldn't afford to buy any crawfish. Well, now as the crawfish industry got bigger, there's no place to do that anymore. So, you're losing those places where we could just go anywhere and do it and nobody would tell us anything. Now everything's leased. I need to swim here from Nova Scotia. Lucy, you swimming here from Nova Scotia? Okay. Lucy's making me think of something with the name Troska. So I have this book I'm reading. I just finished reading. It's about the Germans coming in 1721. Everybody's heard of LaBranche. If you live in the river parishes, the LaBranche family is real big, own a lot of land in East Bank of St. Charles Parish. LaBranche, the original name was Zweig, but it got changed to LaBranche by the French because Zweig in French meant branch. So they said La Branche. I never would have guessed that one. I just thought that was an interesting bit. If you have a recipe, can you send? We have access to mussel, scallop, lobster. Oh, hell yeah. Man, you can make you a hell of a jambalaya with that, Bob. I sure will. In fact, let's go ahead and put it on the next show. That way you can watch it. Okay? Now, one thing about crawfish were a pain. They were a nuisance at one time. Hard to believe, right? Because I've actually read in old newspaper articles where they go around looking for crawfish holes, crawfish burying themselves into the levee. Because if you didn't catch that, and I know this from some crawfish ponds, that crawfish are just burrowing there, and then that water, think about the river when it gets high, and it's in the top of the levee, and that water's moving. That current's going in and out that little crawfish hole, in and out. If it goes through, you would have a crevasse, a break in the levee. And this was detrimental. So this was one of the things that was, crawfish were detrimental to levees. We've kind of gotten that under control out here because we put mats down, we watch the levee a lot closer. And what they would do is they'd walk the levee, not only look for the holes. If you saw dirty water coming out the other end, you better do something fast because that means that levee's getting ready to blow. Look. Oh, thank you, Dino. Always good to see you, brother. Pam, hey, Spuddy, where are all the women tonight? Must be bingo night. It must be, Pam, I don't know. The bingo's making that big comeback. What's up, Baron? How you doing, my brother? Okay, now I'm gonna bring these shallots in. And you see we're getting a nice brown color in here. And I'm bringing these mushrooms in. Mushroom, again, I'll bring a lot of stuff on my etouffee. If you don't like any of this, don't bring it in. Like I said, etouffee could be as simple as just a little onions and some bell pepper. You don't have to make it fancy. I just like all the vegetation in it. And I like to show people how to do this, and then they can make options of what they want to do. Hey, Joanne. Okay. And we're just going to keep on working this. Now, what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of crawfish, just a little handful. I'm going to sacrifice those. What I like to do is, if I'm cooking seafood, Bobby, remember this. You're cooking seafood, throw a little bit of seafood in the dish from the beginning. It's going to break up. It's going to fall apart. That's okay. It's helping build a stock in here. If I had more crawfish tails, I would have put a little bit more. I'm just going to do a little bit. Because yesterday we made a crawfish stew, made the crawfish etouffee. I used up almost all my tails. I just had 2 pounds tonight. You are very kind calling mushrooms vegetation. Hey, Baron, keep on fighting, brother. Okay. Man, this is looking good. Now we're gonna bring our bell peppers in. Now, a lot of people always ask me, especially when I do my cooking schools, why all these colors? Green, the immature. You know, if you bite into a green pepper, it's got that little bite. But it's good. But the red one, the sweetest, it's got that sweet. Call this the stoplight effect. You're getting all the different flavor profiles of all these different bell peppers. It just gives a different, to me, it just makes a better dish, okay? I'm keeping the prayers coming. All right, David. And David just finished. He got placed in front of St. Philip Church a plaque commemorating the 100th anniversary, or I hate to call it anniversary, of the great tornado that hit in 1924. And I think it killed 6 people, David. So it has the story in front of St. Philip Church so that people know that story when they go to church. And I got to give a big shout out to David. He worked hard on that, made a video for it. And I tell that story when I do my bus tours. People love to hear that kind of stuff. So thanks a lot, David. Adding a little something to our community. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you, this is a lot of vegetation for my 2 pounds of crawfish. That's just what I like. I could have used, I could have used a lot less, but I like it this way. So I'm still working this down. Let's take a put. Let's bring that eye in the sky down. Man, look at the colors in this pot. This is what I like. You see all these colors? When you got colors in the pot, color is flavor. Fat is flavor and color is flavor. You bring in all these, you lay in flavors in this pot. This is what makes our dishes so unique. And we bring different cultures in. We bring in that crawfish. Who were the ones that ate the crawfish before us? The Native Americans. They were eating them, and they would go out there with a piece of string or a cane reed and put a piece of string at the end, tie a piece of deer meat, catch 1 crawfish at a time. It was good protein. It was a good source of protein. Something else, in around by Homer's house, it was the Omas tribe. Omas was red. It meant red. They would paint that red crawfish across their chest when they were going to go fight, when they were ready for battle. Why? Because crawfish, they are brave. They'll take the world on. They'll take the world on. And so if you take a crawfish and there's a train coming, it'll rear back up like it's going to stop that train, and it's just a squished crawfish. Well, this is why the Omas tribe used this for their fighting, because it was fearless, and they figured they just couldn't lose. Okay, David said it was a 9. 8 the day of, and 13 days later. 9 total, 8 the day of, and 13 days later. So yeah, it was a terrible tragedy. Just think it's 1924, and you have a gathering in the church hall, and this tornado comes and just destroys the hall, and these big cypress beams are falling on people. It really was, in a small town like this, definitely a tragedy. Oh yeah, and I like all these colors. Hey Rick, we're cooking this crawfish etouffee. Now remember, you could be etouffee in anything. It doesn't have to be crawfish. And look, we have crawfish all over the United States. We're just the only ones that know what to do with them. And but the crawfish in other areas, they'll use them for bait. There are some areas, if you catch crawfish, before you take it away from the water you caught it in, you have to kill it. So what the hell you need a crawfish for? Their laws are this strict. Louisiana crawfish they don't want our crawfish anywhere, not live, because we got badass crawfish. The heat today is a tragedy. While heat was on, brother. Are you trying to turn? Oh no, Bob, I'm not turning that to mush. I'm building my color. I'm building a gravy. Watch this. Okay. Let's go down in that pot and look. You see that little gravy we're building there? You see the color I have in here? This is what I've been working on. So I'm taking my time in building that gravy in here. Now, and also, when you're cooking seasoning down, especially in a restaurant business, you better cook this seasoning down good. If somebody tastes a crunch, all of a sudden, you catch the wrong person and they're on the street saying how bad this dish was, and you don't know how to cook. So you better have to make sure that you smother this down well. And I like to get all the flavor out of this. Hey, Jody, how long do you need to cook crawfish and etouffee? Good question, Rick. So if you're using them crawfish that I don't like to talk about, that would be from a foreign country, then I'm gonna tell you this, you're probably gonna be probably 20 minutes. Takes that long. These crawfish are tougher. Louisiana crawfish, probably 10 minutes at the most. Okay. All right, thank you, Sharon. Comments on showing up, and Let me see. I don't know if I can get him to show up. And my mouse just went dead. So I forgot to turn the little switch on that tells him to show up. Okay, let me know if they show up now, Donna. Because StreamYard added a little switch so it can show up on your screen. Okay, now I am getting ready. We'll do one thing before I add the crawfish. I'm going to add a little flour. What this is going to do, it's going to give me some stretch on here, and it's going to thicken up my gravy. Kind of like when you make rupees, same principle. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to bring a little flour in, and you'll see this in a lot of old recipes. Doesn't take a lot. This thing is a 1/4 cup. I maybe use half of that. And you just let this cook down a little bit. And this is the way I like to make a lot of dishes that I don't want a big roux in, but what it does, but you cook it down and get that little brown in it. And what it'll do, it'll give you a little brown gravy. It'll give you a good thick gravy. And this is what I'm looking for. Okay, let's go ahead and bring it on down. And you can see it's starting to stick down here a little bit. See down here? See how my gravy's disappeared now? Because now that flour's taking over. And then when I start adding water to it, we're going to come back with that thick gravy. That's going to give us a lot of flavor. So this is why I cook this down so long. And it's just my way of doing it, because I remember my mom was just cooking, and especially my mom, just cooking her food a long time and slow cooking. And they always knew what the hell they were doing. Now, one thing about the crawfish industry, it's a huge industry. And the whole seafood industry employs a lot of people in the state. We have the best seafood in the world. We probably have 1/3 of the seafood of the whole United States. So we're seafood leaders, no doubt about it. Now I'm going to bring this in. And now you're going to start to see the gravy. It'll start building up a little bit. Hey, Ricky, I will do squash. I was supposed to do something a couple of weeks ago. Got real busy. Wound up just smothering it, putting it in the freezer. As soon as I get me some more, I will do some squash. I want to do some squash and shrimp. And some ground meat. All that in the same squash. So that seafood industry is just huge in Louisiana. It has a huge impact, but the crawfish industry also, about 1887, somewhere in there, we started with our first commercial selling of crawfish. We may have produced maybe $8,000 to $10,000 worth of crawfish. It wasn't a lot. Today we do $160, $170 million industry. So huge difference. Bobby, as long as nothing comes up, I'm on every Wednesday. Good Lord, say the same. Man, look, semi-retired is busy. I never know what's going to show up. What's up, Turkey Neck? Turkey Neck, we'll take some squash. Got some white squash if you want. Hell yeah, we're going to use them. Crawfish Etouffee coming up, miss. Okay, let's see. I was in Utah. My employer flew in crawfish from New Orleans overnight for me to bar. Because if I caught it up there, you had to kill each one before leaving the lake. There you go. We had to keep the airline tickets to prove the mud bugs were VIPs and not locals. There you go. Thank you, Tony. So that really does exist. Now, before I bring the crawfish tails in, and that's crazy. Once you kill them right there, what are you going to do with them? There you go. Boy, look. See that gravy that's cooking in there? Now we're going to bring that crawfish in. So talking about ball crawfish. So I went back and looked at old newspaper articles. Look, Cajuns probably been balling crawfish for a long time. But you're not going to see the stories in the newspapers or just a reflection of what's going on in that area. People, if they ball crawfish, they were balling them to peel them and make salads with. So there's an article I found in a newspaper, 1909. The ball crawfish was seasoned, 1 clove of garlic, 1 dozen allspice, and 6 cloves, also parsley, thyme, and bay leaf. When the water boils long enough to extract the juices of the herbs, add white wine. They were using this not as ball crawfish. They weren't sucking head and pinching tails. They were actually using them to put on something or cook with. So they had a different reason for cooking them. And this was a special. This is very interesting in Opelousas, 1973, not long ago. For $4.95, you can get ball crawfish, crawfish bish, crawfish etouffee, crawfish jambalaya, crawfish pie, fried crawfish tails, stuffed bell pepper, and a salad, all in the same dish. 1973, not that long ago. Also found in 1975, in April, they had a crawfish festival in Narco, Louisiana. I don't remember that, and I was living there at the time. I was a junior in high school at the time. So they did it at Sacred Heart School. They worked with the Knights of Columbus right next door, and they did a crawfish festival. And it was the entry fee of free to come in and cook, to do for the contest, and it was free to get in there. You just had whatever money you spent, it was a way to raise money. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Please let me know. But it was on Sacred Heart School grounds. Okay. There's inside our pot. You can see those crawfish tails starting to cook. Now we're going to start seasoning. Tell my body 1973 wasn't that long ago. All right, Jeremy, you got a point. Okay, I'm going to add a little salt to this. You see, I'm not adding much. I want to make sure. I'm going to check my seasoning. Watch your pepper in this crawfish etouffee, because it doesn't take long for it to get away. A little cayenne, okay, and a little black pepper, and of course we got to have a little crystal. What kind of party you have without crystal coming over? All right, a little crystal in there, and you know, one of the things that people like we was cooking yesterday, they love putting the hot sauce in. And let me tell you, all their dishes, a lot of people come from here and you think they wouldn't like spicy. Hell, every one of the dishes they cooked yesterday was spicy. My kind of people. But the ball crawfish, people, not until after World War II till you start seeing in the paper where people are actually going out buy ball crawfish and sucking the head and pinching the tails. But it wasn't until the 70s and 80s that it really caught on. 80s with the rest of the world. Because if I remember when I was young, Cajuns ate that crawfish. People, affluent people, they were not going to be caught sucking head and pinching tails. Why? Because they said that was for the poor people. Eating ball crawfish was for the poor people, and that's a real thing. And I remember that it was very common for people. Not everybody ate the ball crawfish. They ate crawfish. And if they had crawfish, maybe they scalded and made a dish with it, maybe a crawfish stew or something, but they wouldn't eat the ball because that was for the poor people. And Cajuns at that time, remember, Coon-ass, Cajun, whatever, they were considered the poor people. They were considered the low class. And I was damn proud of it. Okay. So then another thing was when they sold crawfish, and this was back in the early 1900s, even in the 1800s, they knew if the crawfish laid on the back, it died. So what they would do, they put the crawfish, they had to ship them, put them down on their stomach, put hay on it, and stack them with hay so that they can move them by train to go somewhere. And this is how they kept them alive. And it was also saying that if you shipped them on the night they had a lot of thunder, they would die. Hey, Terry. Thank you, Terry. I remember my parent saying his mama used to make a thick etouffee that was spoon could stand up. She lived. Oh, look, Siri's trying to figure out what the hell I'm saying. Well, that's pretty.
That fine stand-up she left in your Apple Music library. You can.
All right, Siri's trying to talk to me over here. Damn, Siri. But yeah, some people will make it thick. Mine's gonna be a little bit on the thick side. I can't stand it up. I can't stand a spoon up in it. But that was the interesting thing about the way they would ship crawfish. There was another store. People would do this. They would.
having trouble hearing you.
I gotta let Siri get out the way. So what they would do is they would take crawfish and they would put live crawfish in a pot. They were selling them like, and then they would take some dead crawfish and paint them red, put them on there, and they would give them, and that's how they would give it to people. And the people, when they would take the painted crawfish off, thought they were boiled. Well, underneath, the crawfish would start moving. Some crazy stories out there. Hey, Elizabeth. Sorry, don't speak St. James Parish yet. Siri's really struggling over here. Oh boy. And a lot of recipes and old recipes, what they were doing is if you wanted to cook something, they would carry, we went catch 200, we went catch 20 crawfish. We went catch 30 crawfish. And then they made their dish for that. They weren't making a lot of big dishes. So it's really crazy, some of these recipes, how specific they were. Now, crawfish. Crawfish has a lot of nutrition. People don't realize it. Remember the protein. The Native Americans use it to build up their protein. The Cajuns knew that. They ate a lot of crawfish, a lot of protein. They went out, when you worked all day, you needed that protein. But it was low in calories. Now, we make it fat in calories. And then also, we put all this stuff in it. So it's not the crawfish that's bad, it's the salt that you can't move your fingers the next morning. But it's when you have a diet that's rich in seafood, they're saying that it helps prevent Alzheimer's, angina, stroke, heart disease, cancer. Hell, I don't know why people in Louisiana, I guess we don't eat enough crawfish. We slacked off. Oh man, look inside this pot. Let's bring that eye from the sky down. Look at here, look at here. Yo, this is a beautiful dish. We get ready to taste this. Hey, Kim. Okay, let's bring it back in. Okay, I see the comments coming through now. So there was a place in Portland that had crawfish. I think this was in the 1800s, and this was crazy. The guy, he would actually, and I'm trying to find my notes on it because I couldn't remember the story. But the way he cooked it, he basically just cooked it with wine, and he called it Portland crawfish, and he made a fortune on it. It was back in 1909. So he cooked it in wine and called it Portland crawfish, and the people went crazy up there because Portland did have a lot of crawfish. In fact, it was in Portland when in the 1800s, early 1800s or 1700s, they took a bunch of prisoners and people that were just running around homeless or whatever, and they brought them in and gave them a job to go catch crawfish, one crawfish at a time. And when they had sacks, they would find where they thought they had water, dump the sacks of crawfish on the ground, and then wherever they gathered, they figured that's where water was. I can't tell you if that worked or not, but they were actually doing that. Hey, Hilton, how you doing? Good to see you. Remember when the spillway was full of crawfish? Kim, you know it. So one of the things, every time the river water came up, when the water went back and the spillway left pockets of water, you would go there and you hit those pockets and catch sacks and sacks of crawfish. Now, those crawfish were white crawfish. We have two species out here. The red one, that's our swamp crawfish, the crawfish in the ponds. You catch them in the river, it's going to be a white crawfish. Crawfish in the spillway were pretty good, except a lot of times they were sandy. You better rinse them. Think about the water that's being left behind. It's got a lot of silt in it. So those crawfish would pick that up. Man, you don't know what time it is? It's time to take a sip of beer and dip this French bread. But before I dip that French bread, I got to give me a little taste. Because I want to see. I got to check out seasoning first. But look right here. This crawfish etouffee is getting a little reddish brown color. Oh. Ooh. I need a little bit more salt, but let me tell you, the piquant is there. Oh, my man. Lord. Oh. I wish y'all could have some of this. Y'all need to come sit down with me one day. Come watch me. Y'all get to eat after. Oh boy. Mm, 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 Go in the back icebox, grab that rice. Fix some over rice. Yeah. Mm, But that don't make you dance. They ain't got nothing in the world make you dance. Lord. Now we ain't come back with the rice. Once I caught a half sack of soft shell crawfish, put on the 6-foot test trawl in the spillway. Damn. So test trawl. First, 1973. We were in high school. Our job was actually to fill sandbags at PE. That was mandatory. But the spillway came up, and then once the water settled down in front of the locks, there was still a lot of water. We were pulling that test trawl. Wildlife and Fisheries pulled up and wanted asked us if we had a fishing license because we were trawling. So, man, we just walked over the net. They almost brought us in. They said either get a fishing license or we had to have some special permission to trawl. And they almost threatened to take the test trawl away. But that was a good way to catch them. We were mopping up on them. Soon as they come back with that. Now look, you see there's a little bit fat in here. Man, don't let this go to waste.
You must use it all the time.
In my icebox.
Yeah, look.
Okay. So now, well, we can't find any, so I'm gonna eat it like this. I know my seasoning's right. I'm gonna bring my parsley in. I don't want Melissa fussing me because I didn't use my parsley. I miss Melissa. Melissa, he now. Oh yeah, now let's take a look in that pot. We got a lot of color coming in. Woo-hoo. That's pretty. That is one beautiful picture right here, okay? And let's bring that back up. Now, one of the last things in history is before the 1960s, crawfish, they were sold sporadically from the state of Louisiana. The crawfish marketing, the crawfish industry wasn't really organized. There was a congressman or a state rep. His last name was Angel, and he was instrumental in bringing us all together so that we can be on the same page to market Louisiana crawfish. He got the University of Southwest Louisiana involved, which would be Louisiana Lafayette today, to start doing research. And next thing you know, went from using 4 to 8 million pounds of crawfish in the 60s, where today we had 160 million pounds. He said, hey, let's make this consistent. Let's all do the same thing. And one of the things I'm going to show y'all is, see this right here? See this little state symbol right here? If you're going to buy Louisiana crawfish tails, make sure you have this Louisiana symbol on there. If not, because they're going to put a product of China and they're going to put it really, really small. If you don't have your glasses on, you like me, you won't be able to read it. Randy, do you remember in the early mid-70s when the crawfish were crossing the airline highway near St. Rose? Oh, hell yeah, Randy, I remember that. Not only that, remember Station Road? You'd run over them. The water was real high. Crawfish were running across the airline. You just go pick them up if you didn't get killed. There you are, David Hubble. I was on the other stream, was wondering why I wasn't seeing comments. David, your cousin found you. All right, now. Time to bring it on. Time. Ooh. Y'all want some? Easy just like this. Too good not to be making it. Mm. You know what's good? You take a piece of French bread like this, and you take this gravy. Go ahead, Melissa. And you put that over your bread like this. Oh. And you let it soak up real good. And once it soaks up real good, then you can eat it. And it's good to put over pasta too. Thank you, Lucy. So you can take the same dish, put it over some pasta. Boy, I tell you what, this over some angel hair pasta would be fantastic. Or any kind of pasta you like, put it over your favorite pasta. Now, I just turned the fire off, but here's that bread. Oh yeah, Terry, come on and get some. Jeremy said, freeze them and send it up there. Send it up there. No problem, brother. So look, good simple dish. I'm telling you, when we cook this in our Cajun cooking experience, the people go crazy over this. We don't always do crawfish. We may do shrimp etouffee. But remember, you can make this same etouffee dish with anything you want to make it with. But if you got some good crawfish tails, this is a good dish to make. And you didn't, up until the 70s, you didn't see crawfish etouffee in many menus. And if it was on there, it was just like with something. But most of the time you saw crawfish bits on menus. But crawfish etouffee didn't catch on until later on. Creek said you can put this on a shoe. Hell yeah. But put it on my shoe, I know I'm gonna eat it. Yeah. One more time before I leave. All right. Another good dish. So if I get some squash, I'll probably do that next week. Bobby, I promise we're gonna do some seafood jambalaya. That's a fact. And they got a lot of other dishes on an omelet too. Oh, hell yeah. And I'm gonna tell you something else. This will go over anything that you're eating. Also tomorrow morning, this is gonna be stiff. Get you a wrap. If you wanna make a wrap, you put some in there and you fold it up and eat it. Oh, out of sight. And you take it and mix it and then put it with your scrambled egg in a wrap. How much longer do we have to wait for live shows so we can be there to taste? Pam, anytime. Bring a crowd anytime. 2 weeks ago, I had a crowd here. What's up, Bruce? Thank you, brother. Do it again. People are always welcome to come watch live. Always. Just let me know you're coming. And of course, if you want to get up here and cook with me, I'll bring you up. I got another one of these right there. I got another one of these mics. Thanks to my buddy Jeremy Hubble that taught me about this. So anytime you want, Pam, not a problem. You be there to taste, bring a crowd, because we always like to have an audience. And you can make noise and everything. It's not school. We don't keep it quiet. So thank y'all very much. We'll see y'all next Wednesday. The good Lord say the same and nothing comes up, because I am semi-retired. It's busy, man. It's a tough life. I'm scared to retire. I ain't gonna have time. See y'all next week. Love y'all. God bless y'all.
Don't get me wrong, I love my life. These concrete walls, these city lights. What I'm about to say, it won't make no sense.